officer that he probably went to visit. Yeah.
Of course.
You're good, bud.
Okay, thanks.
No, it's not.
Sorry.
It's a personal assessment.
Okay. All righty, good morning. This is the Board of County Commissioners pre-agenda for July 31st, 2018. We have the pre-agenda that we're going to go through. There's a few items today. And the first is cover today's agenda, and then we'll move into 7 August draft agenda. With that in mind, we'll have Commissioner Hutchings conduct the Pledge of Allegiance for today, and then we'll make a motion to approve the agenda if there's no revisions or changes. And then we'll make a motion to approve the board meeting minutes for July 17th, 2018. We have one presentation, that is from the Prosecuting Attorney's Office. And I think Mr. Prosecuting Attorney Thunheim is going to introduce a new employee that is the manager of the Target Zero and engagement, who is an engagement specialist. And I think that's Jessie Knudsen. And she will come here to say hello and everybody greet her. I think that's absolutely fantastic. So, any questions about that?
No, and I don't know if it's Knudsen or Knudsen.
I heard her say it the other day, Knudsen. So.
Really?
Knudsen, yeah. But we'll see. We'll let her tell us what the deal is.
Okay.
So, yeah, she's the boss on that one. So.
No questions.
Can you guys put your mics on? Sound better.
All right. It's on. And then, well, is there opportunity for any public comment for opportunity for the public to address the board?
So before you move on to public comment period, we have a request from Josh to introduce new staff in CPED.
Oh, okay,
so
sure.
we'd like to add that to the presentation.
Seabed. And who are the people?
So it's at least Derek Baker. He's one of our new inspectors.
Okay.
It's going to help implement some of the e-inspection stuff that we've been talking about.
All righty.
Is he the only one?
At this time,
Okay.
depending upon schedules. Maybe 2 more, but they'll go quick.
We have questions for them. Okay. So opportunity for the public to address the board is the next item. Do you know anything of importance? Anybody looking around the room?
Not aware at this time of anything that might come up this afternoon.
That it's hot out there? Okay.
Any questions or emails about cooling centers come up?
Not that I've seen. Nope.
Okay.
The fair will have sprinklers set up.
Oh,
The county fair, the one that's coming up this coming weekend?
tomorrow.
Or tomorrow, rather, the 2nd through the 6th?
First through the 5th.
Tomorrow's the 1st through the 5th. Okay, so not just reporting the Olympian, it's coming up, it's not done.
That's correct.
Okay.
That was Gary.
I have just quick.
Oh.
Emergency management does keep a list of the cooling centers and have been posting updates on social media as well.
Oh,
Yeah, we've been doing a pretty good job of that, and they've been.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Fresh batteries?
Say, last time I sat here, the batteries died.
Plate
Emergency
in
management
your head.
keeps a pretty good list of that. They work with various organizations around the county to make sure they keep that posted and up to date.
Okay, I just want people to be informed of where there's cooling centers available.
And we get a break starting tomorrow.
Yes,
as far as a break.
the weather.
From the heat.
So he's doing, Commissioner Edwards will do the Pledge of Allegiance today, Chair.
Can you handle that?
Okay.
I'm kicking it back to you. All right. So we're on item number 2, the county manager's update. Is there anything to
Nope,
note
not
for
at
the
this
public?
time.
Sure. So we'll move on to item number 3, which is the consent items. We have items A through F, and we'll just kind of go through them to touch and go on each one of them. But if there's any issues, obviously speak up. So the first one is 3A, which is from the Community Plan and Economic Development. It's the final plat of Stillicum Ridge Division 2. So, you know anything about that?
Just that the plat is ready to be approved.
Okay.
And before long,
county
Right.
manager.
Right, so one of the actions later on your agenda today is to delegate authority to the county manager, but as of today, it's still up to you.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Just want to pass on a message to Commissioner Edwards. It was requested we wear our lapel mics rather than sit them on the table.
But you
Fix it,
might-
fix it up better.
Well, for you, I've got the soft voice. He's-
I've never been told it couldn't be heard. so.
Okay, so item 3B is from Emergency Services, is the approval of the lease space agreement with West Thurston Regional Fire Authority for the purpose of paramedic unit station at $16,500 and some change. So is any questions on the lease agreement? No, we've gone
No.
over this before, so it should be easy.
This is the motion that we're changing to take out the amendments to exceed 50%. So the Director of Emergency Services will be authorized to approve future amendments, but not those that exceed this 50% of the lease price.
Okay.
Does I understand that'll be changed then
Yeah, that'll be changed before,
to what?
La Bonita. It will,
What would the wording state?
so what's it going to say now?
The wording will state, down here where it says, and authorize the emergency services director to execute the lease agreement and subsequent amendments of $16,554.84.
There won't be a not to exceed line in there at all?
Correct.
Okay,
The not to exceed 50% of the annual amount has been given.
okay. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? All right. So item 3C is the Community Planning and Economic Development. It's approval to rename the Thurston County Fair Lifetime Achievement Award and bestow lifetime appointment. And is Teresa Reed going to be here for that?
Yeah, that'll be me.
No, because it's a consent item.
It's on consent.
You're right, sorry.
Would you prefer this on department?
Yeah, I think I would, actually.
We're just kind of, it'll be me if anybody, because they're all gunning up for the open ceremonies tomorrow.
That's,
Oh, the fair
Yeah.
starts the 1st through the 5th?
yeah,
So
Of
Ann
August.
won't be here to receive the award?
well,
As we talked previously, this is on the consent item because the awards will actually be presented at the welcoming ceremonies on Wednesday evening at 6
oh,
p.m.
okay.
Okay.
Let's do it that way then.
Good,
Is that all
thank
right?
you.
We interrupted your plan, sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah. So the next item is 3D.
And remember, it's kind of a surprise.
Oh. Not now. Okay.
So again, the people watching should be sworn to secrecy.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
It's funny.
Well, let's just try 3D then. Approval to bestow the title of Thurston County Fair Board Member Emeritus for Beth Sartain. Same, again, okay. Well, let's try 3E, which is from the Sheriff's Office, contract for full-time school resource officer in the Nisqually Middle School and the 7 elementary schools in North Thurston School District for up to 2021, the year's 2021, so. And that's approximately $95,000, but that's not out of any general fund, it's from the school districts.
Correct. The school will pay the cost of the officer, and the work will be performed on overtime.
Yeah, sure.
Now, it almost is 601 half dozen of the other, but it's paying the overtime of the SRO that's in the school, or are they taking a road deputy and putting him in the school and it's paying the overtime to fill behind that deputy? Or
Well,
do you know that?
I'm not sure of that level of detail.
Because sometimes they'll work a longer hour shift on the road than they will in the school, so it might be a greater
Right,
amount of
it
overtime.
could be, but someone's going to work overtime to be able to cover this position.
And I'm okay with that, I just
Right.
was just
The
wondering.
advantage of overtime is we don't have to buy another car. There are certain
Right.
advantages of doing it this
Well,
way.
I'd almost supported it, again, half the increase amount.
Of the-
It's that important to me.
Right.
and the schools.
Any questions, comments? SRO, good to go? I like that. So that's 3E. We're going to go to 3F, which is the financial services with Darren Bennett. It's attached. So I'll move into department items. The first department item we have is number 4, which is the Public Health and Social Services. This is a resolution affirming baseline and targets for the Thurston Region Climate Mitigation Planning. And so we already... Hello, Chris.
Just in time.
So this has been slightly modified with a couple of typographic changes that,
Thank you.
but I think it's pretty much fully in keeping with what you've seen previously of this resolution. This is part of the climate mitigation planning effort that we're coming to the close of phase 1 about. Phase 1, you agreed to participate in back in April with the cities of Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater. And part of that phase 1 was to identify and recommend baseline and targets that we could share in common with those other jurisdictions to work toward in phase 2. But this resolution is affirming those targets and setting us toward the discussion and decision about whether the county wants to participate in phase 2, which is the development of the strategies and implementation plans for the local jurisdictions to work together toward those targets.
How is this slightly different from the last one? You mentioned that.
So the main changes were brought about by conversation with the prosecuting attorney's office as they reviewed it. They just wanted to make the final whereas statements clear and consistent with the interlocal agreement for phase 1, and then the now therefore statement, I think, just got a slight wording change on that. So, nothing that changes substance or overall effect of the resolution, but rather just getting some language straight.
Alrighty.
Any questions?
I'm just about halfway through it.
Okay.
Just see a spacing issue, but that's not a problem.
We missed another one.
Yep.
Sorry.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th whereas down. I think is a spacing issue, but it's just space.
You're right. Between the whereas, comma, and the
Yep.
start of the
No
statement.
emissions there.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, I'm just getting it. I'm getting it.
It's not a issue.
Okay.
Oh my God, if we got just a spacing problem.
We can do that.
All right.
I'm almost done, bud.
All righty, take your time. There's another spacing issue. But
Oh, no.
it's all good. I'll show you when I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it.
I'm all about space today. All righty.
All right, done. Thank you.
Is that something you can read?
I guess if I had one question on
Hopefully.
whereas Thurston County in 2010 adopted a resolution which committed the county to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions from county government operations. This is just an extension of that? I mean, I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just acknowledging that the county has already in the past made some efforts on this, and that was part of phase 1, was to look at what have the local jurisdictions already been working on and agreed to do in the past, and this builds on that earlier commitment. That was about county government operations. This plan is about community-wide, how do we bring down our emissions? So it's bigger than just the county's operations. That earlier commitment was, let's work to make our government operations as efficient as possible from an energy and emissions standpoint. now it's kind of building that outward toward how do we work in cooperation with the other local governments and achieve community-wide these similar goals.
Okay. Just trying to save us some problems.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Chris, was the bulk of that done in 2012, 2013, of what we did in the county, somewhere around there?
Well, I think in the years following that 2010 resolution, yeah, there were a lot of efforts to address vehicle fleet, for example,
I remember seeing numbers.
purchasing more high-efficiency fuel economy vehicles, but also things like lighting and trying to make upgrades to facilities. So a lot of that was in those years immediately following 2010, but I think the county continues to work on a lot of those efforts.
So I'll move to adopt the resolution, but will you be reading the resolution?
Who's going to read it? You are.
No, I am. I just
what
want
he's
to verify.
hoping. That's what he's hoping.
No
you'd say.
surprises.
Happy to have whichever way you would
I
prefer.
think I've just outvoted.
Okay.
Well, we should do it.
I'll read it.
Thank you
Any
very
questions,
much.
Gary?
No.
No? All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
You bet.
And I'll be happy to take a look at your edits there.
Well, I just got lucky, that's all.
I think I caught the same. There's a copy back for you.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. So still on department items, and we're on item number 5, which is emergency services. And this is the executed contract for FY15 FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And I'll let Mr. Kurt Harding tell a little bit about this as far as the cost and the intent of the grant.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Kurt Harden, Director of Emergency Services. There's 2 contracts here, 2 grants. First one is the FireWise grant. Wildland fire is the most frequently occurring hazard in Thurston County. On the average, the county sees about 70 wildland fires a year, and most are handled by local fire departments, but potential is there for much larger incidents as we're seeing across the rest of the state and also the West. FireWise is a program designed to help communities and individuals be prepared by protecting their homes and businesses before wildland fires start. It promotes defensible space, ignition-resistant construction, and vegetation management to reduce flammable materials around buildings. Funding from this grant will bring 2 assessing structure ignition potential train the trainer training courses to Thurston County, and that's a mouthful. And the target audience will be the local fire department personnel, homeowner associations, builder associations, public works, landscapers, construction contractors, and planning departments. FireWise will be incorporated into our public information and outreach. We will be issuing out on social media and on the website tomorrow, if the board approves this measure, our communications outreach. So that will take place this week. We're going to encourage all of our communities to be FireWise communities and take action preparing and protecting their homes and businesses against the threat of wildfire. The total amount of this particular grant is $26,786. The county portion is $3,348.25. That's a soft match. It's going to be in kind. We're going to use salaries. We're going to provide the venues for these 2 events. So that will all make up the match. So it should not come out of the budget. And then the state portion is $3,348.25, and then the federal portion is $20,089.50.
So it's FireWise?
FireWise, correct. The second contract and second grant is elevation grant for mitigation, and what it does is it's for flood mitigation. We're going to elevate primary residential structures 2 feet above the base flood elevation, or BFE, or the documented high water, whichever is greater. This intent is to take structures that are in the floodway or floodplain and take them out of flooding hazard. And so the total amount of this is $215,609. The FEMA portion is $161,707. The state portion is $26,951. The local portion is for Thurston County is $26,951. That again is a soft match. It'll be staff time, permitting process, inspection fees, et cetera, are part of that soft match. Anything that is not covered by our soft match, the homeowners themselves will pick up that cost. We have identified 5 structures. The homeowners are aware of them. They're aware of the grant process. They're eager to participate. And we believe this will be enough funding to elevate 2 structures, but if we can stretch it, we'll try to get a 3rd structure in there as well, but we have some alternate structures lined up too.
Okay.
Subject to your questions, that's the 2 grants.
Yeah, Gary.
And where are these structures located? Which floodplains?
I can give you their addresses.
No,
I can't.
I'm just
City,
wondering. I mean,
Dakota, or?
Lake Skookum?
Yelm, they're all 5
Shoes?
structures are in Yelm, yeah. So I can get that information, have it for you guys this
Yelm.
afternoon, yes. The address is Yelm, of course, as you know, even if it was an Olympia address, it could be out in unincorporated
So
Thurston
it
County.
could be either Nisqually or...
Correct.
And
I'll
when
find
you
out.
say raise a building 2 feet above the floodplain, and if the building is, I don't know, 2 feet lower than the floodplain, you raise it 4 feet? Is
Correct.
that the intent?
Correct, that's the intent. It's above the base flood elevation, 2 feet above the base flood elevation, or the high water mark if there isn't a base flood water elevation.
Do they ever buy people out?
Yes.
Instead of raising buildings?
They do buy people out. The challenge with that is though elevating a building or structure is about $50,000 to $60,000. If you buy somebody out in this market, it's the market rate for that house or that structure.
Kurt, I'm looking at the motion, and we're moving to approve a hazard mitigation grant for the period of August 2017 through. So it's
Correct.
like last year, and then the next one is also backdated a bit by a
Yep.
couple months.
But so in these grants, some of the grant award work is eligible for reimbursement, and so FEMA incorporates that in, and that's very well spelled out in the grant criteria. So some of the work we've done preparing for the grant and putting the grant together, some of that staff time is eligible.
And that's the soft
That's
portion
that
of it?
soft bench, correct, sir?
Perfect. Got it. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, sir. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. So we're on item number 6, which is the Commissioner and County Manager's items. And so this one is to set a public hearing considering granting the County Manager final plat approval authority and amending Thurston Code 18.16.060. Pretty
Yes.
self-explanatory, but you want to talk about it a little
Yes,
bit?
just to say that the public hearing will be on September 4th, and that should the board approve this after the hearing, then the county manager would be approving plats as they are completed by our planning department.
And that takes a public hearing.
It takes a public hearing to delegate your authority.
Okay.
So
And a code change.
it's a code change. Any
change,
change
okay.
in Thurston County Code requires a public
Okay.
hearing.
So, any other questions?
No.
Question, go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering, when we do things that are pretty administrative in regard, I don't think anybody's going to complain one way or the other about this. Can we combine that public hearing with another public hearing at the same time, or maybe,
What are you
do
trying
we
to
have
do?
to close? I'm just trying to consolidate so we don't have a bunch of little public hearings. Trying
Yeah,
to make
5
it.
minutes here, 10 minutes
Yeah,
there.
5
put 'em
minutes
together.
here. Why can't we put them all
Oh, I
together
see.
and
So
be
you want a public hearing marathon?
cost effective? I like government to be cost effective.
So we do tend to hold public hearings at a certain time, and if there were others that were ready to go, we could schedule them at this time, but I'm not aware of
Okay.
anything else.
You might be ready, but other people are.
Right.
Okay, good enough.
But it's nice for
And,
staff
Yeah.
that have to
Right.
hang over.
Yeah, everything works better.
Yeah.
And because it is administrative and we don't anticipate any citizen opposition, that's why it's at 3 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon.
Instead of 5:30 or
Yep, adjacent to your normal agenda.
My question is it because of the public notice requirement that it's September 4th and not earlier?
Yes, we have to notice
Well, no,
at
but
least,
30 days?
no, it's 20
So
days.
it could
It's a
possibly
20-day
be in late
notice.
August. Is there? Oh, that's right. Okay,
Right.
see, I'm just curious.
Technicality.
So we'll wait till the September time, okay?
No, it's just whatever.
Any other questions on that, comments?
Say, is it legal to revert back to a prior topic, just to ask? the
Yeah,
county
give me one
manager
second, I'll
something?
get to this one, then I'll get to it. So, this is 6B. 6B is the County Policies and Procedures Manual, and it's to waive competitive building requirements.
To waive the requirements for competitive bidding and to authorize the assistant county manager to contract with Stellar Associates
Oh,
for
Stellar,
the update of our county policies, the creation of a single county policy manual.
Any questions?
I have
on
no questions.
Comments? Discussion?
We're authorizing the assistant county manager to contract. Okay, so that's not delegating our authority.
Oh, no, that's
You're authorizing her.
authorizing me to
So why wouldn't we
sign a contract.
Why wouldn't you authorize the county manager then to sign these other things that's calling for a public hearing?
Because by law, the Board of County Commissioners approves plat, and a recent change by the state legislature allows the board to delegate your authority
On that
to the
single
county
issue,
manager.
on a single issue.
Right.
Oh, how nice. Okay.
Specifically. Prior to that, you were not able to delegate.
Thanks, Robin.
So simple.
Lots of things, yeah, just
Yeah, little nuances.
lots of little laws.
Who said government had to make any sense?
Yeah,
That's
okay,
crap.
what do you want to go back to now?
I'd just like to ask Robin, Kurt's left, and from an emergency management perspective, when we invest public money into elevating a structure, at the same time, do we end up obtaining development rights or something that goes along with that, so that we don't have additional structures built in that particular area, and then perpetually we just keep investing money into fixing things?
So we don't obtain any type of right to the property. But there is a public good that allows us to invest the money in elevating structures. The future response, emergency response to people who are caught in the floods, the claims on the government for damage caused by floods, lower flood insurance premium to all of the citizens of the county. There are a lot of benefits. We don't acquire any rights to the property, but there are these other benefits.
On that particular parcel, though, do we put any kind of a restriction? You can't build another building next to the one we just elevated, or?
Yes, and the county has, since most of these structures were built, the county has adopted different code that would prevent any additional structures in the floodplains.
As we move through that, I mean, do we ever try to obtain maybe purchasing development rights for conservation purposes? Okay, we're going to tell somebody they can't do something, but the government's going to commit money. Do we get any benefit, maybe from an environmental standpoint? I don't know.
I
Maybe
don't
Andrew
know
would
that
know the
this,
answer to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just like to think that we try to be cost effective in every move we make, if possible.
so I don't know about any environmental steps that are taken with this land that we acquire. There are times that the structures are deemed beyond repair, and the insurance or FEMA will buy out the land and the homeowner. But I don't know that it would be considered habitat for the species that
Well,
we
a frog would
protect,
like it,
or
I'm sure. you
maybe.
know. We're dealing with the Oregon spotted frog. Why
Right.
not find him some place to live?
Right, or riparian efforts, I don't know,
Okay.
but,
I'm just
Yeah.
wondering about
It's
efficiencies
interesting.
in government. that's
Okay.
all. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions for July 31st, 2018 BoCC, or Board of County Commissioners meeting? Hearing none, we'll move on to August 7th. So we have this agenda before us, and this is to call the meeting to order and ask Commissioner Hutchings to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and they'll move to approve the agenda. and any board meeting minutes from July 31st. We do have one presentation on 7 August, and that is the proclamation for National Farmers Market Week. And I think the county manager is going to present that, and probably some other guests are going to be here, I think.
Yes, that's correct.
Mary?
I've been working with Mary Mateo, and we have an email sent out to the farmers markets in the area. So we've invited Tenino, Tumwater, Young, Delphi is a new one, and of course, Olympic.
Does Rochester have one? They have a farmer's market or not? A new one?
I can't remember, I'll have to double check on this.
So the county's
Yes.
been invited?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have a draft proclamation, and I'll present it to you for review.
Okay.
Did you have a question? No. And for the number of people show, have a copy for
Yes,
each
there'll
person.
be an original to make sure that everyone can take it.
Sure. Any comments or questions on that?
No, I remember doing
Farmer's
that
market.
last year.
Yep, it's always good. Maybe they'll bring corn or chickens, and
There's some Walla Wallas or
Walla,
something.
yeah.
Well, those aren't local though.
you never know what you're gonna get. Bring Charlotte, the cow. Okay, and there is an opportunity for the public to address the board, but I don't think there's anything that we foresee right now. So, are there any county managers updates that you can think of at
Not
this
that
point?
I'm aware, but we would respond to anything that comes up today.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have consent items, items A through D, and so item 3A is from the auditor's office, and that is a request to cancel outstanding warrants. It has nothing to do with law enforcement whatsoever.
correct.
It's a different term that we use in the financial world, but you want to talk to it just a tad?
Yes, so in the finance world, warrant is another word for a check.
There you go.
The county issues checks to pay for things that we owe. And after a certain length of time, those checks become null and void. This cancels 234 checks that have been issued in the past that have been outstanding for a long time. These checks don't necessarily go away. The county still owes the money, and they are turned over to the Washington State Department of Revenue and made available if anyone were to search. They could be found on the lost property website at DOR and could be claimed in the future, but this makes it so you can't just take it to the bank anymore.
So the sum total is $5,275.
Yes, these are all very small
Sure.
amounts.
But it's important.
There'd be a number of checks adding up to that cumulative amount, I would imagine.
234.
Oh, it's under 200, yeah.
Any questions on 3A? 3A?
No.
All right, going to 3B. 3B is from the Community Plan and Economic Development. It's going to be a resolution increasing the full-time equivalency of a position. And that would be
So,
another planner.
right, so from a half-time planner to a full-time planner,
Okay.
the county has received an award from the Environmental Protection Agency for a riparian restoration program that will pay for this additional half-time position.
Is there an ending date?
There is not an end date on the current position. But should the funding go away in the future, that'll be one of the things that CPED will have to manage and potentially come to you and reduce the number of FTEs.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
When we have money that comes in for a specific problem like that, are we only allowed to work on that particular problem? Or if it's generally related, and I'll go back to environmental issues where we're going to be looking for spotted frog habitat, could that person be working that particular issue along with some of our other?
He's worried about the frog.
Yeah, well, I'm worried about the habitat conservation plan, that we address whatever number of acres that we're going to be required to do so under that particular plan. I think it was 14 acres, but I don't know that, and that's the minimum. We might want to do more.
Right. So this particular half-time position will only be working on the this particular grant award. So there's certain work that's required to be done to satisfy the conditions of this grant and claim that grant money, because grants come in after the work is done. So if this person is working on other things, we would not be able to bill those other things to this
I mean,
grant.
you can't do two things at the same time?
If the work of the grant satisfies some other project or activity that the county is vested in, then we have to follow fair and equitable allocation rules to allocate that time and split the cost. It can't just be charged to this grant.
That's not to say, if this individual is working on this project, grant approved, and there's a byproduct of something over here that helps, they're not doing that work, but as a result of what they're doing here, it helps other issues. That's not an issue.
That's a bonus.
Yeah, it's a
as long
bonus.
as we're not purposefully
Right.
having a dual purpose. If there were a purposeful dual purpose to the work, then we would have to allocate the cost. But if they're working on the terms of this grant, then we can fully charge their time to this grant.
Okay.
Can we at least look into the possibility that we always strive to do that on this type of an issue where, I mean, we're talking about riparian issues. No, I mean, we have a problem we're supposed to fix. Can't we see if we can't utilize those assets to solve maybe that problem, plus get benefit for another problem?
We can certainly look into what this particular grant might
Okay.
benefit in other areas.
Could you pass that along to those folks?
Yes, absolutely. I think Andy's got the note, yep.
Andrew's got it. He heard you loud and clear.
See, there
Okay,
you go.
thank you.
He's definitely gonna be passing it.
Thank you.
But if we have another grant for another issue, that individual, they could work side by side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Moving on to 3C, and it's from the sheriff's office. And this is a resolution establishing a position.
So, yes, and apparently I was incorrect earlier to say that the school resource officer would be performed on overtime work, because this is a request to establish a position specifically for that school resource officer
touchdown.
grant. So we would be getting that position. I have not had an opportunity to check to see if the amount that the schools will pay will cover the full cost of having an additional officer.
$95,000.
It's about 100,000,
No,
isn't it?
it's not gonna, I doubt it will. I have
Well-
not talked to the sheriff yet.
So are we premature in doing this? I mean, I want to support the sheriff's office, but do we have the money to make it work?
And I don't remember this
That
coming
is
before the
the
board
question.
earlier, so is this slid in?
This looks new. I'm not sure when this came in. See, Romero and I both had thought that the work would be
Yeah.
performed on overtime.
We
So
discussed
this
it
is
last week.
new.
Matter of fact, we were told it would be on overtime last week.
Okay, so we got questions. Probably just to clarify, but we need some clarity on
We got
this.
time.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
So we'll move forward today with the contract, and this position is next week.
but
So,
there's
Yeah,
still
this gives
questions.
us time.
So- We got
time,
another week
right,
before.
we have time to look at the position, but I'm just affirming that you also want to move forward with the SRO contract.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm gonna look at, because if we decide not to hire behind them, then they're gonna be even shorter on the street.
That is,
And they're only, I mean,
Possibility.
they're tied at the hips, these two positions. They'll get an SRO if they get a full-time body, but if not, what's their game plan? What's plan C? I need to
Right.
put these
Well-
things together.
I guess, from my perspective, I would still want to go forward with that particular contract. If the school's willing to put $95,000 out and has a relationship with the sheriff's office to put an officer in the schools, I don't want to delay that from happening myself.
this a-
So if it's overtime, or if
Is
we
this a
figure out a way to
new
do a
FTE?
match.
yes,
That's
this
what
is a
I'm- that's
brand
what-
new FTE.
Yeah, and I wanna marry,
Yeah,
I wanna marry the
more
two
about,
together.
I want to know more about this, but if it
Has
is going to
never
be
been-
overtime,
So this would be 3.
I want to make sure that we get that. I'd hate to have school start, and now we've
Right,
The
but that's-
bureaucratic process has held us up, and now we don't have a officer in the school. So
That's what tells me that if we tie them together and say, you can't have this without this, and you got to answer to this, because this is a surprise to me here, July 31, the sheriff's going to have to come and explain this straight away to alleviate any further delay.
Okay.
So we can get that SRO in the school, which is paramount for me. But I don't want to be held hostage by, oh, but you have to hire another cop now, or our overtime in the sheriff's office is going to start skyrocket again because we're down an employee, if that makes sense.
We have lots of questions. Go ahead.
I still want to go ahead with the contract. I mean, we're going to have to make a decision there between us, I suppose, for the $95,000. I don't want to micromanage the sheriff. If he gets $95,000 to put an officer in the schools and has worked out a schedule or an activity with a particular school, I think he can do that by paying out overtime without having this particular position filled. So I don't see that they're joined at the hip. If he's got the money coming in, let him figure it out on how to put an officer on overtime. I mean, that's actually, because if we don't have this position, it's going to have to be overtime. And so I'd like to make sure that he has the ability to assign deputy sheriffs to the school, to work with the school. We'll figure this one out at a later date, but at least the overtime can pick it up until we make that determination, because I was not aware of any of this.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, I want to go ahead with the contract.
Well, that's the other one you approved earlier.
Well, I guess
So
This
that's
is
what-
different.
we're
that's
going to
what
approve it,
we're-
it sounds
that-
like.
That's exactly what I'm asking. Do you want to approve the contract today and address the FTE after the fact, or do you want to delay the approval of the contract and approve it at the same time as you potentially approve an FTE?
Okay.
I agree with you, Gary. However, is I want to hear from Sheriff Snaza that if you can't give me a full-time sheriff or full-time deputy, then I can't put one in there. Even though the school district's paying for it, I can't afford the staffing disruption, and I can't have I want the SRO. I want the sheriff to answer that for me.
Go ahead.
We do the same thing with the Rochester School District. They pay, and overtime covers the cost of putting an officer in there. And this would do the same thing. They would be paying, the overtime would be covered. My personal preference is your first option.
But it's not
That-
enough funds.
There is enough funds if you get the $95,000 from the school to pay for overtime. It's backfill.
But when we put an SRO in Rochester, do we have to hire a FTE?
No.
Oh,
we did
okay, so this is
not.
different.
No, you
Yes,
don't.
it
It's
is
different.
different. It's
Okay.
very much different than having an FTE. I don't know anything about the FTE, so I need more information about this.
That's my-
But I do want to authorize the contract that the sheriff is gonna, if
So
it requires
contract,
us.
yes, FTE, no.
That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Or what's the
And then I'd
deadline
like
to
to know
sign the
more.
SRO contract?
So I'm not aware of a deadline. The sheriff asked for it to be on today's agenda. So
Wait. No, not here.
So I have one go forward today with the contract, one delay the contract, and you are saying
I don't have a problem with the contract.
go
I have a problem
forward with the
this right
contract
here.
today. This is tied
I
to
know,
the
but it's a-
contract
it's-
according to the
It is tied, it
AIS.
is a separate also at the same time, so.
All right, so
I
I
want to
have two
understand.
people saying go forward with the contract today. So we'll go ahead and do the contract today,
Yeah.
and Romero and I will contact the sheriff and ask about this FTE and get more
What do you say?
information for
But
you.
with a big frown then. That doesn't set well. This gets slid in, and I'm using that term loosely because I don't know how it happened. But we were all on board with the SRO, and it was, yeah, grandstanding, this is a great thing for America and for the kids. But now we get slid in behind us. Oh, yeah, but we'll need a deputy now.
You get jammed.
Yeah, and I just don't want surreptitiously to have another one down the road. Well, here's something that's beautiful, and the funding's there, but we have to hire another deputy.
I do believe that we're doing it with Rochester, we're doing it with Rainier.
Not the same.
But it
Yeah,
didn't cost
it
us
is
an
the same.
FTE.
Not the same.
It is the same as far as
The
The
job
school
description.
is paying for the overtime.
That's easy peasy stuff.
Yeah, that's
not
easy.
the part.
In,
That's all I'm saying. Let's move ahead with
That was
that.
a motion earlier here this morning.
Yes.
This is a new
I
body.
granted, I don't want to move forward on this,
Okay,
but I
okay,
do
okay.
want to go forward on the contract.
Oh, yeah, yeah, well, I got that.
with
That's not-
the,
Okay.
with the understanding, you're going forward with the contract with the understanding that the sheriff would do it on overtime if you should not approve
That's
an
right.
FTE.
Yes, very, that's exactly right.
And I think that you're all on board with that concept. What you're
'Cause I'm sure that-
struggling with is the FTE.
Yes.
And you've.
Because I'm sure the
and-
sheriff's not going to say, well, since you can't give me deputy, we're not going to do the SRO.
And because well,
He won't do that, I wouldn't imagine.
that's what
It's up to the
we'll
sheriff.
ask the
Yes.
sheriff to come in
All right.
and chat with you about.
All right.
But I'm all for doing the contract
Oh,
now
yeah, yeah,
and
that
getting
was-
the
no, that
process
was-
going.
But if we hear that
School's gonna start
there's
here
not
pretty
safety
quick.
on the street for the other deputies because of lack of staffing, the sheriff has to explain reducing his staff by an additional person, thereby taking away the safety of a second officer or deputy on the road. Does that make sense?
No, he's going to be paying overtime.
No, it's not a money issue. If we hear from the association, hey, it's a safety issue, that we don't have enough deputies, and now the sheriff takes another one out to put them in the school without a replacement, that's something he has to answer
backfills
for,
that.
not
People
us.
on the road, the complaint that comes from the association
Yep.
is that the number of hours that they're working is unsafe.
Right, and so the sheriff is depleting
That's-
that number of hours to put one in the school, betting on the come that we're gonna say yes, without discussion. And I fully support the sheriff, there's no doubt about that, but it needs to have discussion. It's a chunk of dough.
Okay. What's the wrap up?
So we are moving forward today with the contract.
Yes.
With the understanding that if the board does not approve the FTE next week, that the sheriff would perform the contract on overtime. And we'll invite the sheriff to come and chat with you about this FTE.
Yeah, sure. Exactly.
Okay,
Sure.
there we go.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay, moving on to item 3D, which is the financial services, the approval of the voucher list. And so it's kind of attached as to be seen. So we'll move into number 4, which is department items. The first is the Public Health and Social Services. This is approval of amendment number 3 to the Washington State Department of Health 2018-2020 Consolidated Contract 18264. So any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay. Public Works, item number 5 is a resolution to call for seal bids for the Grand Mound Reservoir Project number 2. Project number 94025. Seal bids?
I don't know anything about that.
Seal bids?
I think we ought to go ahead on it, but I'm thinking it's that flood issue where they bought some property about a year or so ago.
Oh, is that
think
over there by
that's what it
the,
is.
oh, shoot. Yeah, we bought, I remember.
Let's see.
Couple acres there.
Yeah, right off of Albany,
Yeah.
just to the right before you get to the railroad tracks, before that little subdivision thing, so. All right, I remember.
That's Grand Mound, I thought what you were describing was in
Rochester, yeah.
Rochester.
I'm pulling this up.
Oh,
Right.
okay, you're
Maybe
right.
maybe I'm,
Public Works, this is. Do, 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 do. So this is to, for the construction of a second reservoir for Grand Mound, immediately adjacent to the existing reservoir.
Right back behind the hotel.
And the project will also upgrade the existing stormwater detention ponds and comply with current stormwater standards. So
Does it
this
talk about money?
is the RFP, yes. They say that the range is from 1.3 to 1.6 million dollars, and it is planned to be paid for out of REIT.
I just wonder, we've got a group of people down there. One of them is the Chehalis tribe with a new hotel. And we're gonna be doing some kind of an intersection. I don't know exactly what that's gonna entail. They talk about a roundabout. I'd like to know a little more about a $1 million project before we move on.
Did they give the location, Robin? Other than Grand Mound?
The
more
specific location, they don't give an address, they just say that it will be adjacent to the current reservoir.
I know we have a treatment plant down there. And I don't know if that's a mini one. I don't know if that is.
Well, this is for a
That same
water
vicinity.
reservoir, this is not for the treatment plant.
Right.
I
Yeah, we'll need more
personally, I'm
information.
gonna require more information.
Yeah.
So we need Jennifer here,
Okay,
or Teresa, but most likely Jennifer.
yep. And what specifically would you like to know about it? The potential for working with the tribe?
Well, working with others, there's a business interest down there too.
Project
And
interest.
is this a possibility to take the burden off the taxpayers? And if we're benefiting a couple of businesses, I don't know that we are, but if we are, do we sometimes partner? And I don't see anything in here about any of the funding coming from anywhere besides the taxpayers.
The proposed funding is 100% from REIT for this particular reservoir. Generally, what we see is when new customers connect to our systems, both the water system and the wastewater systems in Grand Mound, there's a connection fee that the customer pays, and then that goes directly into the utility fund. That fund is insufficient to cover the additional costs of the growing need of that community for the water. That's why we're proposing to pay for this out of REIT.
And those are the questions I have. Why is it needed? Is it because of the development, because of the hotel that brings in the Chehalis partnership? Where is it going to be? When? And the benefits to whom? And that's out of REIT 1?
REIT 2.
REIT 2?
And we've had this earmarked in REIT 2 for a number of years now.
Okay, and that's not spelled out in the attachment, though. You read the attachment to us.
I was
presuming.
looking at the attachment does say it's coming out of REIT. It's part of the CFP. It's part of the Public Works budget. The cost is in the AIS.
Okay. Yeah, I just need more information.
Okay, they're coming.
Okay.
So are they going to come today or to explain that? It'll be next week or sometime in the
This
next?
will be next week.
Before next
This
week.
is on
Okay.
next
It'll be
week's agenda.
whole.
We've got a little time to get information for you.
Held.
I'm actually surprised that we'd get this little information for that amount of dollar expenditure.
Okay,
It seems unusual.
we're gonna have some information for you. But right now, we're gonna move on to number 6, which is the Community Plan and Economic Development, and this is to set a public hearing for the Lake Moore Open Space Tax Program application. And I think it's September 18th at 5:30. Is that what you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thought we had
Yes.
public.
So we had a briefing
no
on
public
this last week.
July 11th, and then I came to attend the site last week.
So do you have any specific questions about this proposal? This is
I don't, I'd like to hear from the public, I guess.
I encourage both sides to come and speak, I mean, as usual, so.
I do too. I'm just
Right.
wondering why it's so dadgum off into the future.
Well,
We've been
again, you
dealing with
know,
it for a couple months.
there requires the 20-day notice, and then there are the 2 meetings that have been canceled.
Okay.
It's called bureaucracy.
That's not, that's just facts of the calendar, that's calendar.
No, I mean, the public's input is important.
Sure.
And the public's chomping at the bit to get on with this thing too.
Was this
But
the
if that's the
earliest
soonest we can do it.
possible? Yeah, it's an evening,
Public hearings.
public
So
hearing, yeah.
calendars and staff's time, and then of course, we're not having a board meeting on the first.
Yeah, that throws a monkey in the
Yes.
wrench. Is that, and that'll be videoed, and we'll be streaming that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All righty, thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
You got off easy.
All righty. And so on the 7th of August, we have a public hearing from, at 3 o'clock. It's the public hearing to consider rate increases for Long Lake Management District and Lake Lawrence Management District. And Mr. Timothy Wilson from Noxious Weeds and Lakes Management will be here to facilitate.
Right, so I'm assuming that there had been a briefing on this, and the districts, to be able to cover their costs, would need the increase in the rates.
Yep.
All right.
All righty, any questions for August 7th, 2018 agenda? No. Well, it's 9:56. Why don't we take a quick break and come back at 5 after, 10:05.
Hey, Gary, you going tonight to the ribbon cutting or whatever at the Yelm, or Rainier?
Am I unmuted?
Okay, can you hear me now? There you go. Okay, so this is July 31st, 2018. We're come back from a little break, and we're on this pre-agenda. And we're at item, well, it's not item number 2, but it's the proclamations and awards, and I'll just turn to La Benita and Robin to see if we have any proclamation or awards we need to discuss.
We discussed the one proclamation that I have for the August 7th board meeting. It's National Farmers Market Week. There will be representatives hopefully there will be representatives from the various farmers markets in Thurston County. Farmers Market Week is August 5th through the 11th, 2018. That's the only item that I have for proclamations and awards at this time.
Any questions about the proclamation?
When will that be that we read that?
August 7th.
Okay, August 7th.
And
Yeah.
you will be there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okey-doke. Get that out of the way. Next item is the item of briefing and public hearing decisions pending. And the first item we have is the Buildings and Construction Code Amendments, Title 14, that was briefed to us on July 25th.
Yes, Commissioners, you had a briefing on July 25th on changes to Title 14,
Yep.
the Building and Construction Code, and we have Jeremy here to talk about it, and there's an item in your packet. They've
Got it.
these,
We're
yep.
good. So this is about exempt buildings, such as expanding loft areas, and talk about the 400 square foot and UGA consistent with city standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so this is where I think Romero would usually kind of frame the issue a little bit in terms of saying, I don't think this thing is on, by the way, that we've worked hard at trying to find ways to have our building code be more responsive and more flexible to citizens, and this is one of those ways through Title 14. And it's ready for your next stages.
Okay. You have anything, Jeremy?
From what I remember from the briefing, there was one remaining question on that, and that's the size of the exempt buildings in urban growth areas.
Right.
And so that's one of the decisions that we need from the board in order to move forward to bring it to you for final consideration.
And the question was, can we do it? And we probably could do it. The question next is, should we ask the jurisdictions within those UGAs,
Right.
do you want us to do it?
So this, if I recall, correct me, I don't remember the numbers. Was it go to from 200 to 400 I see here, or from 400 to 800? I can't remember.
200 to 400.
Oh, okay.
In the county, but the 200 would stay in the UGA so that we're aligned with the joint plans that we already have with those jurisdictions.
And with their regulations as well. And we did consult with legal and changing it from 200 to 400 in the UGAs at this point in time because of the way that when the public hearing was, the notification in the SEPA, we would need to hold another public hearing to enact that change in the draft code. That's my understanding at least. Found that out late yesterday.
We could do it, it'd just be a longer process.
Right, it would be a longer process to do so.
So, big expansion of county.
Sure, I got that.
Good thing there. We could do the 200, 400 in the UGA with a longer process. But before we went into that process, we're asking, do you want us to even take this any further? Or do you want to just sew it up and pass it?
At 200.
In the UGA.
UGA only, right? Not the unincorporated.
Yeah, because the next step that we would say is we should get the input of the jurisdictions.
We have not done that yet. We haven't reached out.
We need
Okay.
that. We're going to need that. Go ahead.
I think we have done that. We've notified everyone that there was a public hearing, that they had adequate opportunity to come to that public hearing and express any concerns that they might have had.
And so that's kind of what Jeremy was saying, was in that public hearing, what had been previously approved by the board was to present just what we're talking about.
200.
The 200 to 400 in the county, and the 200 stays 200 in the UGA. So what Jeremy's saying is if we're going to do that, then we need to re-engage at the public hearing to provide what you're talking about.
To get to 400 across the board.
So the cities haven't actually had a chance to weigh in on the.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess, considering that, it would be my preference, you know, and we'll have the discussion on it, that we go ahead and move ahead with it as written, so that the unincorporated area outside the urban growth area, we'll finish that off, because we seem to know that we're going to change that to 400. We seem like we have that part of it figured out.
I don't think there's an issue with that at all, right?
So if we went ahead with that, and then we could have a public hearing at a later date for the urban growth area specifically, do we want to make those same adjustments to residents that live in the urban growth area?
Yeah,
Would that work out?
absolutely. That would give us time to contact the cities, consult with them under our urban growth management agreements, as well as put out the proper notice.
That was my concern, the agreement portion. I don't want to impose undue restrictions on citizens that live within the urban growth area any more so than the citizens that live outside, unless we've got some legal obligation that we need to adhere to a certain thing to meet all of our commitments to growth management and such. So I would opt that we move ahead, and that will cover the rural part of the county, and then go ahead with another hearing for the urban growth areas of all the municipalities.
Okay?
Okay?
Tell me what you heard.
Yeah. That's good, that's good. This is what I heard, and Jerry, jump in. I heard proceed with Title 14, and go, get it done, get it passed, get it ready to, you guys to bring to a vote. But also, on a separate track, make sure that we do a hearing on in the coming, we didn't get a timeline.
No, we need to contact the cities though too, so.
To re-engage them on the 200 to 400 in the UGA. To engage them, not re-engage them. To engage them
Okay.
on the 200 to 400 UGA.
Okay.
But don't stop Title 14.
Title 14 specifically to the unincorporated portion of the county,
Yep.
not the UGA portion.
Well, we're gonna pass the whole thing as it's written.
Okay.
And that includes the keeping the UGA the same.
Yes, yes ma'am.
So we pass the whole thing as written, but then after it's passed, also then check in with the cities on the 200 to 400 UGA separately, do a separate public hearing on that portion of it.
I just don't understand the procedural portion of that. I understand the intent, desire, and all that, but why would you want to go to the cities first and then get that out of the way and then pass the whole thing at one time? Whatever is written up. in terms of-
Approximately how much time would all that take? The
Um,
contact with the cities, the potential change to the agreements, the public hearings?
So to draft the amendments would be a short amount of time. You know, we do have a 20-day notice on our public hearings typically for that. We also have to have time to engage the cities and probably meet with them. I would give that 6 weeks probably, at least.
How much time? I didn't hear you.
About 6 weeks, I would think, in order to have time to set the public hearing, do that engagement before we set that public hearing so we don't surprise them.
That's
Since
what
they're
I'm
partners.
afraid of.
Yeah, and probably something around
So we
that time.
push this out approximately 3 months before this could be adopted?
Yeah, probably 6 to 8 weeks. If we don't make a decision right at the public hearing, it'd be after a subsequent briefing like today, so.
With no guarantee that the cities are gonna jump on board with the 200 to 400. So what's the timeframe to having Title 14 passed right now?
I have an AIS prepped and a draft ordinance with those ready to go if the board gives the go-ahead. Of course, that's just submitted and ready to go.
So August 7th or?
Yes. And that will also include all the flood amendments too. So, and we do need to have our flood amendments. So the other thing is we do need to have our flood amendments done by the time of our CRS review this fall. And those is the changes to 1438. I have to have those adopted so I can count them.
Sure, I got that. So I just want to make
So-
sure we don't go so far that we don't have this other jurisdictions involved and have that open discussion, 200 to 400. I guess that's, if you go too far too fast, you're going to just cause the apple cart to be upset. So let's go him then.
Me or him?
You know.
So we could go ahead with the outside of the UGA and then move along with the more extensive, time-extensive process with the cities.
Yes, sir.
So I guess I would like to do just what you said.
Yeah.
And I feel that we are responding to the ag committee that is mostly the farming community in the rural part of the county. They've requested that we do this.
At 400 feet?
Yes. And so we can do that now for them,
that's not a
basically. And then discuss the urban growth area legalities
But you'll
and
have-
such.
Sure, but then you'll still have to come back and do another
Yeah,
public hearing.
at a future date, but the rural area will be done. in
Okay,
public.
that's not a problem. That's the plan. I just want to make sure everybody understands we're not trying to pull a fast one.
Yeah, no, I think we're being very transparent.
Okay,
And responsive to both entities.
of all the
Sure.
needs out there.
Yeah.
Okay, did you hear that? Can you back brief
Yes.
us?
So a point was made, just for clarification, Commissioner Evans, so that we're all on the same page. We had talked about this is the baby step towards all of the expansion. This is, right now, specifically for the exempts on single-family homes. Next, in the commercial code, would be the exempts on ag buildings. So this is that step towards,
what?
this is what's written in Title 14 that we've been discussing.
Yeah,
And so we had talked about this being all encompassing for the exempts, but the ag building is the next piece, not in Title 14. Title 14 is for the single family.
Oh, okay,
residences.
got
Yeah.
it, got it.
And the next one in the commercial code, which is not what we're talking about quite yet, but is on the agenda next for us to.
but if we pass this at 400 feet,
Unincorporated.
as requested by the ag committee, that they're looking for a place to park their equipment. And so they can go ahead, and they have a residence too, even though they're in some kind of agricultural activity. So they can do it. Everybody in the unincorporated area outside the urban growth area will be able to build their covered area for up to 400 feet.
400 exempt.
Square feet.
Right. And we're going to go back and talk about the legalities and such with the municipalities.
Staff wants to always be technically correct. Yes, your statement is true if they have a single family home on that property.
Okay, good enough.
But that would be a next step to take a look at how we do our exempt ag buildings, because currently we do allow them up to 775 square feet. I think we pay $200 at the counter, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I can't.
Okay, yeah, anyway, so.
So somebody can come in now, an ag person that wants a building on their ag property and pay $200 and get 700 feet or whatever.
Commercial.
So roughly.
775 square.
Okay, so they can do that now.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to ask staff the same question that Commissioner Blake asked. What did you hear in terms of process?
I was going to ask you.
Oh, well, I heard
Process,
bring
what's
the current amendments forward for final consideration to the board as soon as possible, which is up to the board, and when you want to schedule that, that's ready to go. The second part of it is contact the cities and talk to them about the exempt buildings in the UGA.
Yeah.
So,
Contact, that there is still a discussion to be had.
yes, sir.
And if possible, another public hearing on it, most likely, even if it has to get to that level.
Yes, sir.
It could not probably get to that level. There's an agreement already to either staff to staff or the joint commission, right? Okay.
And we'll we'll schedule a briefing with you to bring back any of the results of those discussions, to brief you on those.
I'm just not trying to omit them as much as it's just the right thing to do, so, okay? Them being jurisdictions
So you'd like to see this on your calendar?
today.
Today?
Ah.
Yeah, it's ready to go.
We could do that, we could walk it on, but next week's a little easier.
7 August, yes.
7 August, okay, cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
We'll do it.
We need to chat. We need to chat.
All righty, got that one out of the way. The next item is the Voluntary Employees Benefit Association, otherwise known as VEBA or VEBA plan that was briefed on July 25th. And I think we have Lauren here to give us a bit more information, ask any questions, and make a decision. So, just for 30 seconds, can you recap what the VEBA is or isn't?
Yeah,
Yes, the Viva is what we,
There you go, pull it over to you, there you go.
the Viva is a post-retirement account that we would like to bring to the county to when people cash out their sick leave and this second-tier alternative leave, that this would be put into an account. It would be tax-free to the employee at the time of retirement. And then the account would become theirs, that they could manage and use it for medical expenses, healthcare expenses.
All right, did you have any?
I don't have any questions on it, I'm good.
No, we discussed that thoroughly last week. I have no questions.
Did you have any questions or comments on this?
I don't, just to remind you that that it is a all or none proposition.
Ah, that's
Once
right.
it's voted in,
Per
it's
work group.
no,
Per group.
yeah.
Per
People
group.
each group would not have an option. Members of that group would not have an option. They can
Is-
either all have them and all get them,
Right.
or none.
And is there a pre-vote or a pre-session to see where
Like a
any
straw
group,
poll.
straw poll, like where any group stands or falls on this?
So we had talked briefly about that at the briefing,
remember.
and there is a concern that any type of straw poll or, you know, how do you feel about this, could be seen as an unfair labor
labor
practice by the
practice.
union. We have to allow the union to gather their members for a vote.
Always a rule, always a rule. All righty.
Oh,
So
it's
for,
government.
actually for each group, I mean, if it does get voted in and others don't like it, I mean, it usually lasts somewhere between a year to 3 years. Then they can have another vote and decide.
Sure, there is, yeah, but I just hate the unintended consequences in one or two individuals for the majority. I see the plan is great overall, don't get me wrong, some people have different ways of going about life, and we just try to help everybody, so, go ahead.
I understand that if the county, us, were to go out, or you were to go out and do a straw poll type thing, I can see if that might be a ULP or concerns for ULP. But we could contact the representation leadership, couldn't we? And just say, we're considering this, the goods or the bads, and let them do that if they choose to? Or is that also considered unfair labor practice by saying, well, we want to offer something to your labor union, is it worth it or not? I mean, let us know.
So there are some groups, like we mentioned last week, that the sheriff's office is very interested in it, and they have been asking for it for many years to bring the Viva in. In talking to the benefits staff of, you know, what we've been hearing, there's quite a few other individuals that are either represented or non-represented that are very interested. One of the things that the board did ask for us to do is to look at other jurisdictions
Yep,
to see
I remember that.
who has a VIVA or not. City of Lacey, yes. Tumwater, yes. We weren't able to get any information from Olympia. We had left a message there. Whatcom, no. Spokane, yes. Stevens County, yes. Kitsap, no. And Yakima, yes. And we left a message for Snohomish. So it's sort of a toss-up on the jurisdictions on, you know, some have it and some don't.
Okay, we'll see what happens then. Hate that. Yeah, it's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
So you'd like to go forward with a vote?
Yep, here we go.
And go ahead, and so if I just want to make sure that I'm
Yeah, what'd
understanding
you
the
hear?
board
Yeah,
correctly.
what'd you hear? Yeah.
Is that we will implement a VIVA program. We will go ahead and start doing outreach, education to our employees. We will need to bring documents back to the board to adopt both the plan, the actual plan document to incorporate a VIVA here, and also we'll need to update our policies and procedures.
So would we have to work with the union and get the vote before any of that happens?
We'll do it simultaneously, yes,
Okay.
yes. And so all of that will start happening in September.
So, did you vote already?
Yeah.
Did you vote already?
I mean,
Well-
I'm
When he
okay with
comes up,
going
I have
ahead.
another question.
Well, I got another thing before I give you my final vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if for just the sake of argument, the sheriff's office have been asking for this for years, when the county implements this, they still have to go through a formal vote, yes?
Yes.
And then we codify that or amend the contract to put that back, to put it in there?
There is language in their contract that says that if we implement it, they have a right to decide if they want to participate.
Okay.
And I have talked to Debbie Brookman about our labor relations negotiator, and she is preparing what we call a memorandum of understanding that we
Okay.
would initiate with all the unions,
And
whoever decides.
is that language, Lauren, in every contract then, that we may or may not do this?
It's in the majority of them. I cannot say if it's in every single one of them, but I know it's in the 618 CO, the ASME contracts, and I know it's in the sheriff's office contracts.
So, the whole public relations piece of this, as far as part of a communications plan, and I'm not quite sure where it fits in, so you're more than welcome to chime in. To announce to the world that we're trying to do this before a vote, I don't think that's kind of cool. Let everybody vote and then tell everybody we're doing a VIBA, but I want to tell the world that we're either we considered and it happened, or we considered and it didn't happen, regardless of the outcome. To let everybody know that we're trying to take care of people, and this is the direction it went at some point in time based on the results. But I'd like to let internally and externally the world know that we're doing the VIBA
Okay.
of some sort.
Yes. So we will make sure that communications go out both internally, externally, and we'll work with the PIO's office
Yeah.
On that.
Not just the newsletter, I'm talking about news release or whatever. I mean, I don't know what I'm asking for, but I just don't, I'm always on this thing to let the world, let the county, people in the county know what the county is doing or not doing with the employees. So.
Right. Okay.
Because there are time limits to that, though, like you said.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get before the
So
vote,
get
because I don't
ahead
want
of
to,
it,
yeah, but at the same time, I want to let everybody know that this is what their dollars are doing.
Okay.
Sure. Cool beans. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Excellent.
Viva on. All right, so the next item is the legislative update. And thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
And so I don't know if we have a legislative update or not, other than the whatever dinner or breakfast thing we're going to do or not do.
Right, as I believe you know, we're working on the breakfast in October rather than December. And I'm not sure that a date has been set yet or not.
Yeah.
Then we also have arranged
Do it for the 31st, and we all can dress up.
We can do that. It's scary enough without being on Halloween. But the other thing we're working on is having Jennifer and Deborah come in and work
Oh, yeah,
with you
that's right.
on what your priorities are for the upcoming session.
Yeah, absolutely. Any comments or questions on legislative? Still kind of. Okay. PIO check-in.
Okay, so I just have a brief update for you. TC Media came in yesterday into this room to do some work. It should be working better now. They did find some cables that were actually broken. So they had to replace a number of cables and some connections. So that's part of what's been going on. I've asked them to come back probably once Whitney gets back and give us a training on this room. Yeah, they gave a training more than 2 years ago, but most of us weren't here more than 2 years ago. So there's been enough turnover that they need to come back and do a comprehensive training on the room so that we can respond to it a little bit better if they're not available. And I learned this morning that we actually can hook laptops up to the computers wirelessly super easy. So that's something I did learn how to do this morning. So I'll show you how to do that, Robin.
huge.
You'll love that. Yeah, it's
That's
a huge
huge.
thing.
Yeah.
And apparently we've been able to do it. We just didn't know. So here we are.
So, okay, where'd the training go on that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to be getting that scheduled. Yes, Commissioner Hutchins.
And what's Whitney's ETA?
The end of August, I believe.
End of August? Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll wait at
I
least till
believe
then
she's
to get
going to come
training.
back half-time for a little while and then
Okay,
full-time.
September full-time.
Sometime early September, we'll have a full training.
all right.
Okay. And then we held the second Citizen Advisory Committee meeting for the Courthouse and Civic Center last Thursday. It was a really good conversation led by Rick Thomas about each of the sites and the next steps for the feasibility study. They did vote on a chairperson. Their chairperson is Molly Carmody. She is a Yelm City or a Yelm resident and is also a member of the Yelm City Council. So she is their chairperson. And we will continue to announce the meetings as we know when they're happening. Any questions on that? So here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yesterday we met with the communications group, the people that communicate for the different departments and offices, and we talked about telling the county story. I provided an overview of the different resources and tools we've developed over the last 6 months, including our county newsletter, which went out last week, the county news page, where we can tell more like feature type of news stories, along with an overview of some of the resources Thurston Community Media provides us, like some of the equipment we can check out for them and things like that. So they seem very responsive to that. I told them to try to work closely with their leaders, and figuring out the things that we want to talk about as to where we want to get out there. So they know those resources and tools are available now. So I'll be working closely with them to make sure we get more information out. On that note, I'm also working with the auditor's office on a cyber security task force news release. They have that now for review. I'm hoping to have it out early afternoon today or tomorrow. And then pancake breakfast is coming up Saturday, August 4th from 8 to 10 a.m. I will be there taking photos, and I have some promotional materials going out this week as well about that. And
that's in conjunction with the Thurston County Fair?
That is in conjunction with Thurston County Fair.
Tomorrow, the 1st through the 5th?
That's right. Yes,
okay.
The 1st through the 5th.
Thank you.
Has it already happened?
Has not already happened, as reported?
No.
In the media, okay.
It has definitely not happened. And then I'm also working with Shelley from the health department on the opioid response task force. We're going to get some information out there, looking at some communication strategies to communicate with the press, tell the story, let them know what we're doing and why it's important. So those are the big things I have going on. If you guys have any questions for me.
Yeah, I do. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday, yeah. That's right.
Thank you very much.
This is my good side when it comes to the pictures and making pancakes.
All right.
When you're taking pictures.
I'm gonna jot that down.
Me and my grandkids, yeah, they have no bad side.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I think we'll have a good turnout this year.
Anything else for PIO?
No.
All righty. Fantastic. We're going to move into Commissioners check-in. The first thing we have advisory boards and commissions. Is there anything we need to do with that? Any approvals, disapprovals?
Not that I'm aware. Do we want La Bonita?
Yeah, she's going to get her
Yeah,
recipes.
good.
How about any commissioner items?
I might, regarding that, I might just bring up the TPA is looking for nominations for a board member. There's one step down. So if anybody knows anybody in the tourism.
Has to be a operator of a hotel or motel.
Hotelier, yeah.
Yeah, so if you know anybody,
Right.
might just get the word out.
Okay.
VCB is doing some outreach.
Any commissioner items? How about you?
I went through my list and I don't.
All righty. Let's see what kind of advisory boards and commission stuff I got.
Welcome back.
Hello. Okay, so on our list for today for advisory boards, I have not received any other applications for the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board other than Crystal Kyer. Thank you.
We did have one person speak on her behalf.
So I didn't know if you were ready to.
Several, actually.
Do you have a direction you want to go with? Or
I do.
What's that?
Let's do it.
All right, and how about you?
It's fine.
Okay, so you have 3 votes for Crystal Cryer.
Thank you. Emergency Medical Services has a vacancy, And you have some backup information from Dr. Grauer. Staff of that board is recommending her.
Okay,
It was in the packet, there was an email from Kurt Harden to Romero in the
Okay.
package.
Yeah, where, do you have any questions on
I don't
Sheila?
have any questions on the doctor.
Grauer? Okay, we're good. 3 votes for the doctor.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
On the Historic Commission, I believe that Beth Matthews actually filled out this application because she had looked at our social media, which is really nice.
Yeah,
And
very
the
nice.
social media is in process, and our public information officer is staying
Right.
on top of that to make sure that we are continually putting out other boards that need other media notifications.
Sure.
So Beth Matthews, that was the only one I received for the Historic Commission.
And she's an archaeologist.
Yes, and that's what they needed.
Yeah.
Where you at on Beth? Where you at on, okay, 3 votes for Beth.
Oh, okay, I'm on a roll.
Oh, you should have said that.
Hang on.
Board of Equalization, I still have not received an updated application from Mr. Barnes. I'm waiting, he'll be another couple of weeks.
All righty.
Is Mr. Barnes the retired assessor person from
Grace Harbor, no.
No,
That
that's
was-
not him.
Retired?
Yeah, he's a retired, knows something about.
I thought that was Thaddeus May.
That was Thaddeus.
Oh, okay, and we already
nice.
did that.
Done.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, we got
A
that,
couple of
okay.
years ago.
For Bob Barnes or Robert Barnes, it does say retired cell with a phone number. So I don't know if his phone is retired or whether he's retired, and that's an old number, don't call it. I don't know.
Is that Ralph's? Is it Ralph?
That's what I'm asking. I don't know. I
Oh.
think so. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know either, okay.
So we can just hold off until I
Retired
get
from
an
Department of
update.
Revenue,
Mhm.
Property Tax Division.
How about I call him today?
Okay.
I will call and ask him. Is that all
That's-
right?
That's not the same Robert Barnes or Bob Barnes that shows up.
That's what we just had. We don't know.
No. Well, there's 2 of them.
There's 2 or 3 of them.
Okay.
Depending on how fast you move
Okay,
around.
thank you.
That's why I'm going to call and find out.
Thank
for
you.
Okay.
You're killing me.
I mean, you're killing me.
No, you're killing me.
Okay.
Okay, the Fair Board,
Soft
I've
little
only
song.
received 1 application requesting to be a member of the Fair Board, and that's from Shannon Vernon. I'm still waiting to see if we can receive some others. She did submit an updated application, which is in the packet.
Oh, I didn't see that in here.
Wait a minute.
The very last page.
Oh, it's the back page. It's the back page of Bob. Okay. Got it.
Okay. And
Don't look at me.
I'm just,
I'm out of the loop here.
my time.
For possible reappointment, Heidi Thomason is asking to be reappointed to the Fair Board.
Thompson?
Thomason or Thompson?
Thompson.
Excuse me, Thompson.
That's all right. Yeah, Heidi needs to stay there. So 3 votes for Heidi.
3 votes for Heidi.
Mm-hmm.
And below, we still have the current and upcoming expirations of other boards and commissions. Tomorrow, I, with you, have a board briefing on boards and commissions. And
Okay.
I'm going to give you the full list of all of the boards, the members, and the upcoming expirations for the rest of this year and the 2019. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4
Okay.
appointments.
You got something done then, see?
I
Ta-da.
did. Thank you so much.
So where are we on Shannon Vernon? That was on hold?
Hold.
That's going to be on hold.
Yeah, bless her heart. I'm looking at the stuff that she's been involved in or volunteers for, and I'm not sure she has room. Did you see this? She's exceedingly volunteering with tremendous amount of organizations, very worthwhile organizations and projects around the county. Wow.
Okay.
All righty. Thank
That's
you
where we're
very
at.
much.
Wow. It's impressive. impressive.
Thank you, La Bonita.
So just to swing back around to the agenda, you have any commissioner items? No, you have none. Do you have anything you need to?
Nothing from me.
Anything on there? Nope, I don't have anything. So that concludes the agenda for today.
All right.
Be back here at 2 o'clock.
It's an early wrap.